United States of America has warned China Beijing faces international isolation if it does not cooperate in the investigation into the origins of the coronavirus pandemic. Jake Sullivan, the U.S. National Security Advisor, made the comments on Fox News. Sullivan highlighted how Joe Biden rallied the world's leading democracies to put pressure on China. During the recent G7 and NATO summits, Sullivan said, and I quote, "It is that diplomatic spade work, rallying the nations of the world, imposing political and diplomatic pressure on China. That is a core part of the effort we are undertaking to ultimately face China with a stark choice. Either they will allow, in a responsible way, investigators to do the real work of figuring out where this came from, or they will face isolation in the international community." Sullivan added that the G7 nations unanimously endorsed a statement saying that China must allow an investigation to proceed within its territory. Earlier, a joint statement by the World Health Organization and Chinese officials failed to identify the animal source of the pandemic. However, the investigating team ruled out the Wuhan lab leak theory. Since then, reports have emerged how a top Chinese official escaped to the United States and gave evidence on the Wuhan lab leak. The man in question is Dong Jingwei, the Chinese Vice Minister of the State's Security. Jake Sullivan says that US will not depend solely on China to investigate the origins of COVID-19. Sullivan said, and I quote, "The President reserves the right through our own analysis, our own intelligence community's efforts that he has directed, and through other work that we will do with allies and partners to continue pressing on every front until we get to the bottom of how this virus came into the world." Appearing on CNN, Sullivan highlighted the two-track approach adopted by the Biden administration. First is the assessment by the intelligence community on COVID origin. The second approach involves the international probe being conducted by the WHO. Sullivan says President Biden has rallied allies to demand access to China to collect necessary data that is being withheld by CPC officials. G7 leaders have demanded a timely, transparent, expert-led and science-based investigation into COVID origins. However, the US will not be making any threats or ultimatums to Beijing. The US National Security Advisor added, "We're not at this point going to issue threats or ultimatums. What we're doing is continuing to rally support in the international community. And if it turns out that China refuses to live up to its international obligations, we will have to consider our responses at that point."